Oh man, I used to think aliens were real until the government started talking about them.
Let's lay out all the facts, because a lot of things came out about those alien mummies that no one's talking about, that could actually prove whether they're actually real or if they've got something else planned for us. So while US Congress talked about non-human biologics, Mexico said, hold my beer, and one-up the states by actually showing these biologics in their hearing. They presented 2 bodies of mummified extraterrestrial beings over 1,000 years old found in a mine in Cusco, Peru. Aliens, like actual aliens, known as the Nazca mummies, and this is the Mexican government, like Congress, officials, all that noise making this announcement. They claim that all governments of the world, including the Pentagon, know about this, and if they say they don't, they're just playing dumb. Led by journalist Jamie Masson, who testified under oath, so if they find out he's lying, he's going to jail. My initial reaction to these was like, come on. I mean, these mummies literally look like a mix between E.T. and those aliens from Men in Black, no? The reason they look like paper mache is because they're allegedly covered with a white substance that preserves and, well, mummifies them. They were found in diatomaceous earth, which is a naturally occurring sedimentary rock that prevents the growth of bacteria and is why these bodies are so well preserved. Upon deeper medical examinations of these bodies, some interesting things came up. To start, they found that these aliens were dripped out with metal rings on their fingers, along with a whole bunch of metal implants within their bodies, made with rare metals like osmium and cadmium, implying that these aliens had advanced knowledge of anatomy and surgical procedures. Studies done by the National Autonomous University of Mexico, which is basically Mexico's MIT, pretty much confirmed these bodies are real, as in they are actual organic beings, but shaped unlike anything else on Earth. This was confirmed by multiple doctors. And what was their final diagnosis? To start, their hands are 45 centimeters long, and they don't even really have hands, just 3 long fingers that connect directly into their arm. They even did x-rays and ultrasounds to confirm they're legit, which would be pretty hard to fake but not impossible, which also showed 3 calcified objects deemed to be eggs or embryos within the alien with intact fallopian tubes, which honestly is even harder to fake, so impressive to see that. These things got 14 circular ribs, similar to a bird, so they're saying this would be a bird reptilian-like creature. A deep concave circular spine, meaning it can expand and contract its neck like a turtle. A significant air pocket in its head, meaning it has room for a complex brain. And it's also got light bones, no teeth, no nasal cavity, so it would likely only consume liquids or mushy fluids like smoothies. Now, the presenter Jamie unveiled a similar alien mummy back in 2015 and was apparently debunked to be a human child, which is low-key kinda twisted. Some articles out there claim the finger bones of these alien mummies are mismatched and the head is actually just a backwards llama skull, but still other doctors absolutely refute that. Engineering a Frankenstein-like human centipede using parts of other animals or even humans to create these mummies would be borderline impossible to pull off. Not just that, but millions of DNA sequencing revealed that 30% of its DNA is of unknown origin and unrelated to anything on Earth. Then they show footage of some more UAPs, same old here, except now some of these are glowing, going on to show alien-like cave paintings in Peru. And to be fair, Peru has quite some interesting ancient sites like Sacsayhuaman, complex of giant boulders, which they still have no idea how they were built to this day. But this isn't the first time the Mexican government came out with alien claims. Back in 2012, they revealed these Mayan discs they dug up from an ancient site claimed to be over 1,300 years old, which famed physicist Nassim Haramein even gave a presentation on. They feature clear depictions of aliens and UFOs, but I don't know. This one seems a little sketch to me, like they just gave a kid a crayon and told him to draw aliens. There's a bunch more of these ancient stone tablets that feature blatant alien imagery from Mayan sites. Could be real, but they're in serious question. What truly does tickle my brain is the proposed age. These aliens are from the year 1000 AD, which would mean they've been around us for quite a while. Just look at all these ancient hieroglyphs, cave paintings, some of which date back up to 15,000 years old, Renaissance art, and artifacts featuring UFOs and beings with bauble-shaped heads. Look familiar to you? Now, this is all mostly according to DNA testing done by Mexican labs and universities, so we're taking their word for it. And of course, fact checkers and media are now claiming hoax left and right to calm the public down. But I think you know what it means when every major news source starts saying the same thing, with smaller voices on the internet claiming they've been told by first-hand sources that these bodies are very real. And the amount of detail in the scans of the eggs and the bones are simply impossible to fake, possibly belonging not to otherworldly aliens, but an ancient subterranean civilization that has remained hidden for a very, very long time. But I don't know, they could be fake. And realistically, would the US confirming the Nazca mummies are real change things for you, or would it just make you doubt them even more? Or are all world governments colluding to pull off the greatest public deception in history? Haha, no, of course not. Why would they ever do that?
That's the most I've ever heard about this. I've seen little clips here and there and read articles here and there and stuff, but that is wild. I'm going to go out and say that I believe it. personally, just because I want to. I don't know. There's a lot going on here. Like I said, I'm 100% for believing Project Bluebeam. But way before I believed in Project Bluebeam, I also believed in alien life and the potential of other species living, whether on the Earth or in the Earth or whatnot. So I'm going to go with my first belief in saying that these are another species. These are an alien species. Also because I like that explanation a lot more, because it means that the government's not luring us into something we don't want to be a part of. We've had enough of that these past few years.
I don't know how many people know this, but often it's mind-blowing when you learn that some infinities are bigger than others. Joe Rogan just leaned 2 feet away from the microphone.
How does that?
Yeah, not all infinities are the same size.
But if it's infinity, then it's infinity. It's infinite. What is no?
Okay. Don't you remember when you were a kid? They said, "What's the biggest number you know?" 1,000,000. Well, there's 1,000,001.
Right.
Okay. How about a billion? Well, there's 1,000,001. The annoying kid always added one to it. Okay. How about infinity? Well, infinity and one.
Right.
Okay. Well, it turns out infinity and one and infinity are the same number. Okay. So here's so for example, the number of counting numbers. So 1, 2, 3 up to infinity. Okay.
Right.
The numbers you would use to count things, that's infinite. The number of irrational numbers, so the numbers that you cannot represent as a fraction, okay, that there are more of those than there are counting numbers.
Whoa.
By far. So these are orders of infinity. Then there are more transcendental numbers than there are irrational numbers.
What's a transcendental number?
So that's a number that you'll never find as a solution to an algebraic equation. So pi is a transcendental number, e is a transcendental. These are magic numbers that show up in mathematics. And turns out there's like an even bigger infinity of those than there is of these other two classes of numbers. And they use the Hebrew letter aleph in ranking. So it's Aleph 1, Aleph 2, Aleph 3, Aleph 4. I think there are 5 levels of infinity. So my point is, just because there's infinite universes, to me, doesn't mean there's infinite conversations that have happened. And I'd want to really explore the depths of infinities before I say and agree with you that this conversation has happened a million, an infinite number of times in just this way, except you have a different engineer sitting next to us,
and an infinite number of times where it's been Jamie too, right?
Yeah, in principle, that's the argument that's given. But I think that there's some nested infinities in there that deserve some explanation.
My feeble brain is not handling this well.
Well, that's fine. So the epigram on that is the universe is under no obligation to make sense to you.
That's rational.
And I've tweeted that before. And so it makes sense to you that the universe is under no obligation to make sense. Yes. So it's okay if your brain hurts when I say there's a ranking of infinities, but you shouldn't say that doesn't make sense, therefore it is not true.
I definitely wouldn't say that. But what confuses me is the word infinity, because I had always taken the word infinity to mean something that has no end. So how can something that has no end be larger than something else that has no end?
So the way they do that mathematically, the way to demonstrate that mathematically is you map one item in the set of this infinity to corresponding items in the set of the other infinity. And so you do this. So you take the 1 and you map it to like the first transcendental number. Take the 2 to the second. You just keep doing this. And when you do that mathematically, what you find that one infinity outstrips the other infinity.
Wow.
And then you're left with more numbers. So that shows you that you have a bigger infinity.
Wow. My brain hurts now. I think I'm a fairly intelligent person, but there's a reason why I'm a writer and that I'm not a number doctor. Because, holy shit. But honestly, that quote that he just said, the universe has no obligation to make sense to you, that's probably one of the coolest quotes I've ever heard in my life. And that can literally be applied to a lot of things. Especially a lot of these videos and stuff that we watch. Like, it's okay if we don't understand them. It's okay if we don't have the answer yet. Like, the universe doesn't know us shit. There's an answer in there somewhere. And that's why we have to keep seeking and keep searching for it, right? To try to find the explanation that makes sense to us, the one that we understand that is still, relevant and relative to the actual, correct answer that we've been looking for.
Breaking news, a video of former President Barack Obama just surfaced and people are losing their minds. Check this out.
How do you wish like you had a third term? And I used to say, you know what, if I could make an arrangement where I had a stand-in, a front man or front woman, and they had an earpiece in, and I was just in my basement in my sweats looking through the stuff, and then I could sort of deliver the lines, but somebody else was doing all the talking and ceremony, I'd be fine with that.
After this video surfaced, a lot of people are claiming that this is what is happening with Joe Biden right now. Because a lot of people are claiming that Joe Biden isn't even in his right mind, that his faculties aren't all there. And so some people are claiming that maybe Barack Obama is the one puppeteering him. But other people are saying that this is far-fetched and people are taking this video out of context. I mean, what do you think? Do you think Obama right here snitched on himself and he's the puppet master behind the whole, Biden presidency? I mean, let me know down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it everywhere, hit that follow button, and until next time, love, peace, and taco grease. But this video makes you wonder, what if he is on his third term?
Obama's not my favorite president by any means. He is, however, one of my favorite public speakers, for the fact that he just speaks very well. He's very charismatic, and he can make people like him, therefore getting people to side with him and do things, that he wants them to do. And being that I study behavioral psychology and sociology and even philosophy so much, like they're just very, very interesting topics to me. I love knowing how people's minds work, and I love knowing how other people are able to kind of shape those minds in good and bad ways. I do think that that understanding and those quote unquote superpowers should be used for good, because you can persuade people to do good instead of manipulate them to do bad. It's just unfortunate we live in a world where that's not always the case, but that's why I'm so interested in these kinds of things. And that's why I liked watching Barack speak so much, because he just had that ability. Keeping that in mind, I also think that Joe is definitely slipping into senility. I think that he's probably not always, the most aware and conscious of what's going on, or even what he's saying. And I think that there would have to be some justification for him to still be running things the way that he is, quote unquote. And I think that it's very possible that that justification would be to have someone basically helping him say the quote unquote right things, or doing the quote unquote right things. I'm not one that really believes that the presidents have the final say in anything. I do think that a lot of the times they're just kind of a mouthpiece. But I think in being that mouthpiece, I think that person has to be likable. That person has to have charisma. And that person has to be able to kind of sway the opinions of the crowd. And I think that Brock did a very good job doing that. And I think that when he was in office, him and Joe did a very good job of doing that together. So I could see that partnership kind of extend over into Joe's presidency.
You think you know, but you have no idea. I will bet you $1,000 that something happens on September 24th. I guarantee it. This will be proof of what I've been saying all along. Do yourself a favor and follow right now so you don't miss anything. There's a part of me that wishes I wasn't right.
Dude, there are so many time traveling TikTokers. I would think if somebody were to come back from the future, they would do something a little more, notable than just make TikTok videos trying to prove that they're time travelers, I would think. Unless it was unintentional, right? Unless they just kind of zapped through a wormhole or something like that, and they're just kind of in this strange place, and they're just I don't know what else to do. I don't know how else to get the word out other than social media. I could see that being the case, but I don't know, man. I'm very, very skeptical. Very, very, very skeptical of TikTok time travelers. I don't know. I think there would be something a little more than just vague, I promise something's going to happen on this day, and then it doesn't, and then oh, well, it will on this day. It's calm down, Nostradamus. All right, if you say something enough, something's going to stick finally, but that doesn't mean that you predicted it. It just means that you guessed enough times and that math was on your side.
Some say these 7 laws that you're going to learn govern the entire universe. Principle number 2, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. When you look at life, it creates in patterns. Trees have roots that go down. They take in CO2. We have lungs that go up. We breathe out CO2. We take in oxygen. The flower of life, the Fibonacci spiral, the solar system versus an atom, the Helix Nebula versus the eye, a galaxy versus a hurricane. Creation, nature seems to mimic a pattern. Building on this, you can't travel within, standing still without. As you start to do some of this inner work and learn more and peel back layers and go deeper within yourself, as above, so below, it's going to start changing the way you operate and go through life. Your personality creates your personal reality. And this is why we talk so much about shifting and creating that ideal version of you that's already within you. You just have to shed off the layers, the baggage, the limiting beliefs, the ex-girlfriends who told you you couldn't, you weren't good enough, the parents, the teachers, all the programming, getting to that true core of who you are.
Yeah, okay, I'm here for it. I mean, I look at as above, so below as just basically being like balance. I know that the quote has bad connotations because people associate it with Aleister Crowley and thalassemia, and then, you know, all the bad shit that he did as a person personally, or the things that he thought of that people disagreed with or something. So now when someone says as above, so below, they automatically are associated with like a Satanist or an occultist or something much worse. But I've always been the kind of person that can separate the art from the artist, right? I mean, just because a bad person says a thing doesn't mean that that thing is bad. Bad people can have very good insight and can say very good things, and good people can have very poor insight and say very bad things. It all just depends, right? Like, you could literally have the worst person in the world reading from the Bible, and it doesn't make the Bible bad, right? That's what I'm trying to say. But again, I think as above, so below is a very applicable kind of outlook on things. It's like, okay, yes, there's balance in everything. There's good and the bad, there's bad and the good, and you need both to appreciate one another. So that's where I stand. But that's a pretty good video for somebody who's not very spiritual, right? I'm not a very spiritual person. I actually kind of cringe when I see hippies on the beach doing their like weird movement energy dances and stuff. It's cool for you, just not really my thing. But as far as that goes, yeah, it's a good video. Thanks for sharing it.
So here's the deal. People think this proves gravity. Well, if I let go of a helium balloon, that should prove anti-gravity, but it doesn't, does it? So that's a problem. Well, here's the solution. Don't call this gravity, call it density when this slider falls in the medium called oxygen, which is the medium surrounding this object. If I hold it down in water and let it go, it will rise because there's oxygen inside of here. So there's no gravity needed, there's just density and buoyancy, which determines where this object goes, whether it falls or rises, depending on the medium it's in. All that's required to know is the atomic weight of the element. Hydrogen is 1 proton, 1 neutron, 1 electron. Helium is 2 protons, 2 neutrons, 2 electrons. So the atomic weight is based on the number of electrons. So hydrogen and helium are lighter than oxygen because oxygen is 8 protons, 8 neutrons, 8 electrons. Only when hydrogen combines with oxygen does it form the molecule of water, and water falls in oxygen even though oxygen rises in water. It's based on buoyancy and density. So do you see, the clouds are hydrogen atoms. The clouds, it's just a bunch of droplets of hydrogen. Well, it doesn't become a droplet until the hydrogen combines with oxygen to form rain. So those clouds are hydrogen atoms coming together with oxygen atoms, and that forms water, which is H2O, the combination of 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. So only when hydrogen and oxygen come together does that form water, which then comes down, because hydrogen is lighter than oxygen. But water is not just hydrogen by itself. It's 2 hydrogens and 1 oxygen. So of course water falls in the surrounding medium of oxygen. Hydrogen floats in oxygen, but oxygen floats over water, which is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. You see? It's very simple. Density and buoyancy always wins.
I don't know, man. I think that guy just took an intro class to chemistry and now he's just saying a bunch of words. He wasn't necessarily saying anything wrong, but it's just like, I don't know. Just, again, dude, just reaching to try to find a different meaning in something that we already understand.
Did you know that every time you hear your name being called without anyone actually calling it, it's actually you in a coma and your family is trying to wake you up? Listen carefully, you'll be shocked. There's a theory that when we're in a coma, we still think we're active in our daily lives. Imagine that you're lying unconscious in a hospital bed and your family is desperately waiting for you to wake up, but you have no idea. Your brain is doing everything to keep you in the dark, creating an alternate reality where you're awake, living a normal life. Each time you hear your name, it's like a crack in that illusion, your family attempting to bring you back to reality. But deep down, Your subconscious knows the truth, leaving breadcrumbs for you. That's why you seem convinced that someone has called you, when in reality, it's not at all the case. Moments of deja vu and strange dreams are the clues to guide you back to reality. So, the next time you hear your name without explanation, perhaps you're actually in a coma, and your family is desperately trying to wake you up.
Honestly, I think I'd be okay with it. Not so much being in a coma, but, you know, just living out like a life within my head. And that's basically what we do anyways, right? Everything is just how we perceive it. I had a pretty intense fungus trip at one point, and I kind of came to an epiphany where, you know, during this time of influence, I was happier than I have ever been, right? I was looking at the world differently. I was just like, literally had tears running down my face because everything was so beautiful, right? It'll do that to you. And then I compared that to a time where I was like traveling. I was like on top of like Camelback Mountain, hiked to the top of Camelback Mountain. I was just looking at Arizona, and it was just so beautiful, and it was similar to that. But one place I was actually there in person, seeing it with my eyes, and the other time I was just sitting on my couch with my eyes closed, and I was equally, you know, arguably even more happy just being in my head. And it got me thinking, like, you know, happiness is really just how we perceive things. It's really just relative to how we're feeling and what we're experiencing in that moment, and everything's basically just everything we experience, whether we hear it or we see it or whatnot, you know, it's how our brains basically perceive what's happening. You know, that's why people with psychosis or schizophrenia, like, they think the stuff is actually happening and they can't decipher it from reality because it's in their head and it's that real, you know, like lucid dreaming and whatnot. So being in a coma and just kind of living a secondary life without knowing really wouldn't be much different than living life we're living now.
Listen, Carrie, Mariah Carey's sister, talks about the sacrifices they would do for Mariah to get famous. Children between 1 to 3 years old were sacrificed, and this traumatized her horrifically.
We'd have these big circles of these Satanists around an altar where the people, sometimes in hooded, what do you call them? They were wearing these long cloaks that were brown with hoods, and they'd be in a circle or two circles, one inside of the other, by the altar, where there'd be live children and sometimes babies. So, and that would happen at night. I saw people get stabbed and start bleeding, and it would be dripping to the floor. It was children. The youngest I ever saw stabbed, I'd say it was about younger than 2 years old. And then there were several that were 2 and 3 years old. I can't imagine how anybody got away with that. The kid disappears. Don't detectives come try to figure out what happened?
Well, that's fucking terrible. I hope that didn't happen, but for the sake of argument, you know, let's pretend it did. I wonder why her sister would be in the room for that, right? I wonder why that would be such like an open thing, like an open ritual that like her sister. I wonder why she would be in the room with that. Why would you have other family members in the room for that? And at what point did that happen? It's crazy to me that these people that witness this stuff were even present during these rituals if they happened. This doesn't make any sense to me.
It's like me versus... Whoa, wait, don't give away too much, man. Yeah, okay, I can say clone, I want to say clone. All right, so there's like a clone in the movie that's trying to, like, me. Film is directed by Ang Lee. Tell me when it comes out. Let's get a selfie real quick. Let's hop in for a selfie.
That was just Will Smith promoting his movie. Come on, clones aren't really real. That's CGI.
I have a clone. It's about a good 3 of me. 3 of me? Alright. I'm the first person to ever use it. I'm cloned. Okay.
Can you conspiracy theorists not take a joke?
Kevin Hart's crash, that horrible accident that really when you see the photos, everyone is wondering how in the world...
I have a clone.
They all survived. Kevin and the 2 other people were in the car with him.
You've seen people die from far lesser car accidents than that. Scary.
Okay, miracles can happen. Just because he survived doesn't make him a clone. Come on, guys. Just because we can clone a sheep doesn't mean we can clone a human.
A woman claims a man who looks like Mike Tyson lured her into a... Now, the lookalike even has a tattoo similar to the one Tyson has on his own face. The real Mike Tyson heard about the investigation and shared a photo taken with fellow celebrity Jenny McCarthy. It places him in Florida when the incident in Houston took place.
So I'm not sure where I stand on the clone thing. I mean, we know it's possible. We know they're like cloning a woolly mammoth right now. We know they have done sheep. I'm pretty sure pigs and stuff. So humans are animals when it comes down to it. So I don't doubt that we have the ability to do that. I also don't really doubt that someone with enough money and a means to do so would actually invest in a clone. But it just makes me wonder why. Like, what reason do they have to do this?
You ever heard of the Bob Ross theory?
No, I haven't.
There's a theory that Bob Ross paints the landscapes and paints the areas of places where he hid bodies.
What?
Yeah.
Nah.
So take this in. This painting, it's called Happy Little Accidents. This painting is an exact comparison to this real life place with this tree.
Okay.
And at this location, they found 5 dead women, half eaten alive.
Half eaten?
And buried under the tree.
Where is this?
I think this is in the States somewhere. But keep in mind the title, Happy Little Accidents. So
Happy
Bob
Little
Ross painted it
Okay.
and titled it Happy Little Accidents. Why is that such a sus name? You know what I mean?
Are his other paintings also
oh, there's
Murder,
more.
murder.
There's another one that's
Murder on my
betrayal and grief.
Oh,
there's different titles.
Yeah.
But the theory goes that every single painting that he's done
Yeah.
is a clue, or at least even the exact location of where he hid these bodies that he's killed.
Oh, so he's killed.
Yeah, he's killed.
What?
Yo, you can't be doing my boy Bob Ross like that. What a kind, soft-spoken, talented gentleman. What are you doing? Just ruining my childhood, man. But honestly, I mean, would it really surprise any of us anymore?
Eugene Reuben Akers. I don't want any money for what I'm doing because hopefully this video won't come out until after my death. So I have nothing to gain, nothing to profit by telling you what I'm going to tell you. In 1968, my father was stationed at Cannon Air Force Base in New Mexico. We lived in Clovis, New Mexico. He was in the military police for over 20 years, and on his deathbed in 2002, we made a recording of what happened. Project Slam Dunk was the name of this. President Johnson in 1968, okay? In Cannon Air Force Base in 1968, he said by the time he got there, that there was already 2 large hangars that were connected. There was hundreds of dump trucks that came in and dumped sand and stone, and cement powder was powdered over the top of all that to make it look like a lunar landscape. They had men that fashioned it into a lunar landscape, he said. Okay, I've never known my dad to lie, so this all took me by surprise. You know, what's that all about? So anyway, he said that in front of the airplane hangars was pole framing with large canvas tents that was concealing the inside of the staging area. Inside the staging area, on flatbed trucks, was created the lunar lander that was reassembled back inside the hangars. All of the walls were painted flat black, and the ceilings as well. He was sworn to secrecy by the NSA, and they would put him in prison for breaking that oath. When Dad saw the moon landing on TV, he cried. He said he knew that what he had witnessed on TV was exactly what they recorded in that hangar.
Man, I've watched a lot of stuff on the moon landing. Like, I've watched, quite a few documentaries, quite a few videos, even just like videos from very well-respected people and people that I respect and trust a lot, who kind of lean in the direction of it not being fake. So there is a lot of science that backs it up being real, as far as, like what people talk about, like you can't see any stars. Okay, well, the moon is very reflective, based on the science that we understand of its composition. Here's what I think. I think that we went to the moon. I think that we did. I think that the footage that we see, I feel like it is doctored. I feel like it's not the real footage, because I feel like the actual experience of them going to the moon is something they can't share. I feel like they probably found some stuff on the moon. I feel like, you know, probably structures, fucking aliens, who knows, right? I feel like the story that they're telling us about the first trip to the moon is not what actually happened, but I do think that we went to the moon. As far as the moon landing footage that they showed being real, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if some of it is, some of it isn't. All of it is, all of it isn't. I don't know, but that's my stance. How do you feel about the moon landing? Let me know what you think. Like I said, I've watched a lot of stuff on this, but I'm always open to learning more. But anyway, that's today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far and you are not in the Lucid crew, I appreciate you watching anyways. There's a very small percentage of my viewers that are actually subscribed, and a very smaller percentage of that are actually in the Discord hanging out and sending me videos they want me to watch. So if you like what you saw, consider liking, subscribing, even hitting the notification bell. That's a thing that YouTubers ask people to do, right? So that's cool if you want to do that. I'd really like you to be more involved in this community. You know, comment, let me know if you want me to look into certain topics, join the Discord, send me videos you want me to watch. This whole entire video today was just compiled of videos that the people in my Discord sent me and subscribers sent me. So, and a lot of it is things I've never seen. So thank you so much for that. Lucid crew, my people, all you guys that are buying my merchandise, all you guys that are, you know, in the Discord, in the Lucid crew, engaging, growing the community, helping share the stuff. You guys are the lifeblood of the Lucid crew, and the reason why I do this for my channel. You guys make this so much more fun than I ever expected it to be. So thank you so much for that. I hope you're having an amazing rest of your day. And until next time, peace.